This is the audio.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Here.
Counselor McLean.
Here.
Mayor Sipe.
Here, please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. At this time, we're looking for any adjustments to the agenda as it currently stands from staff. Okay, nothing from staff. Any questions to the agenda from council? With no questions, we're looking for motion at this time.
I move that we approve the agenda as published.
Thank you very much. Can you get a second to the motion, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you very much for your first and second. Looking for a roll call at this time.
Counselor Funderburk. Aye. Counselor Duffloff.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on now to our city manager's report for this evening. We have 5.1 general announcements. Dave?
Not very much on announcements, just once again, just remind anyone here that's attending, the ribbon cutting is starting at 5:30 on Friday, May the 8th for the business center. Muralists are here on site, so you'll see that progressing over here over the next couple of days. Contractors have obviously been here for a long time. That's moving through too. So we'll have that available. And then of course, that's followed up by the Saturday market very next day. And so we hope that you'll come out and enjoy the ribbon cutting. There'll be free food, free tours, and free music. So I hope everyone can come and join us for that.
Thank you, Mr. Stockdale. At this time, is there any questions for 5.2, the March paid invoices from council? Nothing from council. Is there anything, any highlights from staff? Okay, none of those. Moving on now to our proclamation for this evening. I have a quick one to read into the record. We don't need a motion to read it in, correct? I can just read it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read that in now. This is a proclamation from the mayor honoring correctional staff, whereas the nation's correctional employees and employees of the Two Rivers Correctional Institutions have been dedicated themselves to providing a safe and secure and humane environment to those adults in custody housed throughout the nation's correctional institutions. And whereas the Two Rivers Correctional Institution employees are committed to ensuring that the residents of the city of Umatilla, Umatilla County, and the state of Oregon are safe from harm, and that adults in custody in their care are secure within the TRCI facility. And whereas employees of the Two Rivers Correctional Institution have always demonstrated their support of the city of Umatilla's efforts towards making the city a better place to live and work. Whereas the city of Umatilla recognizes that the employees of the Two Rivers Correctional Institution have contributed many volunteer hours to our community. And whereas the residents of the city of Umatilla declare their support for the correctional programs of the Two Rivers Correctional Institutions and for the employees thereof, and whereas correctional officers are our most deserving our respect, our thanks, and our highest praise, the men and women working in the corrections make a difference in our community. Now, therefore, I, Caden Sipe, Mayor of Umatilla, the city do hereby proclaim the week of May 4th, 2026 through May 8th, 2026 as the Two Rivers Correctional Institution Employee Recognition Week. Thank you. And now at this time, we're looking for our first public comment period. Chief, is there anyone? Thank you very much. First up, we have Crystal Wyant. As a reminder, the public comment section allows for their opinions, raise concerns, and provide information directly to City Council. Comments should address city-related issues and must not pertain to items scheduled for a public hearing on the same evening's agenda. If you wish to speak, please complete the sign-up sheet, including the topic you wish to address. Please begin by stating your name and address when called to podium. Speakers are allotted 5 minutes unless otherwise directed. Please note, comments criticizing city programs and operations are permitted during this segment. However, criticisms of individual city employees is not allowed during the public comment period. Concerns regarding city employees should be submitted in writing to the city's human resource office or service manager for proper review. Thank you for cooperation. I apologize. Go ahead.
We
We need it for the record, so we appreciate it. Yep.
Okay. Crystal Wyant, 130 Van Buren Drive. I just wanted to compliment the city for how excited I am to be able to walk down South Hill on those beautiful sidewalks that we have. I was excited to see this evening that the street lights are now going up, so we'll be excited to see what's going to happen and how everything's going to look at night. I've been enjoying my walks down by the river, and I did talk to Mr. Stockdale earlier about that we still do have some work. There were parts where the blackberry brambles caught my hair, and I had to struggle getting through some places because it's not really maintained by the city because it is Bureau land. But I am hoping that maybe eventually the Parks and Rec Department and the Public Works can get some sort of a deal with them so that we can have a nice, clear access trail all along the Umatilla from the bridge to the mouth of Umatilla down to as far as our little park goes. And hopefully, I know at times there was supposed to be a county trail all the way along the Umatilla River, and I really would love to still see that. As I did walk, I did notice that we still have a couple fish out. Those are the ones by the sign as you're coming into Umatilla. And it reminded me that Dave also told me that we found 2 of the missing fish. So this fish for Jane Starner and Janet Hutchinson were discovered under some dirt at McNary. So I do hope also that the Parks and Rec can look into further development of a memorial garden or somewhere where we can put these fish. I think down by the bridge would be an awesome, awesome place for it. So it's a great place to walk. It just would be a little bit nicer to be safer and more stable because, 2 hip replacements, not like I used to be able to run my 5 miles. And last but not least, I want to congratulate the city of Umatilla. You now have 1 more citizen. My husband was granted legal custody of his daughter, and she is now a full-time citizen of Umatilla. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yay.
Or just hand it directly to Josiah. He'll just take it on this. Yeah. We'll just pass it over.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
Crystal.
Josiah Barron, Umatilla Chamber of Commerce, 100 Klein Avenue. Just well, I might condense this and see which ones, but there's a lot of things going on, so always check out the Umatilla Parks and Rec events calendar, Umatilla Chamber events calendar. There's a lot of things happening just here at the end of April and then a lot in May, but I will mention a few. One of our members, as you probably have even been a part of before. Good Shepherd is having again their annual Family Health and Fitness Day on this coming Saturday, April 25th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. They're at the EOTech Center. There's going to be everything from live performances and demos, a teddy bear clinic, free health screenings, meetings with many of their new doctors and other specialists that have been joining, and those that you can talk with. You can find all those details there if you check out on Good Shepherd's Facebook page. They have the big event flyer on there with all the extra. There's all kinds of other things going on besides what I said too. If you haven't noticed, also a little fun contest that Raise Days Diner is having. They have one of those kind of just papers that people can, if their pen's not working, then and they're signing their credit card slip, they can write on it. They have a picture on their Facebook page, and the contest is if you can decipher how many different things are written on that little piece of paper there, then you can win a free mini breakfast there at Raise Days. So you just go onto the Raise Days Facebook page and comment how many different things you think is on there. And there's a picture of that on the post. That's going on until the end of the month, April 30th. So a fun little thing to try out. Also, two things on May 1st. You can, at Old Nick's, they're having a comedy night. Rio Hillman, who has come once before, will be there for a comedy hour at 8 p.m. there at Old Nick's, 610 6th Street right over here. And it's $10 in advance or $15 at the door. And you can give them a call to reserve. Also, at 6 p.m., also on May 1st, there's live music at the Bridge Bistro and Brews with Jesse Lee, Zach Grooms, and Paulette Duffloff. So 2 great options for the 1st. Then also Heather's Fashion Boutique is having her special Mother's Day event on May 3rd at 10:30 a.m. They're in Stanfield, 135 West Co Avenue at the boutique. There'll be facials, raffle, and you can do some shopping in the boutique. That one is a reserve, so check out Heather's Fashion Boutique on her Facebook or Instagram page to reserve for that. And also on May 7th, there's the National Day of Prayer event here at the new Umatilla Business Center at 7 p.m. And you can always ask Counselor Smith if you need some extra details about that event. And then, of course, lastly, I wanted to mention the ticket sales are available for the Umatilla Distinguished Citizens Award banquet. You can go to UmatillaORChamber.org on our events calendar, or you can contact the chamber. And tickets are $30. This year we'll have Acapulco catering, all you can eat tacos for a night of the dinner. And want to give a great congratulations, if you hadn't seen any of the poster and announcements, to Genesis Lugo Zuniga as the 2025 Umatilla Citizen of the Year for all of her volunteer efforts and involvement in the community, from Girl Scouts to soccer and everything else that she does. And to Greater Purpose Heating and Cooling, who was chosen as the 2025 Business of the Year. And one last thing I did want to mention, Conrad Skinner Memorial Golf Tournament, also on May 15th. If you haven't registered for that, or pardon me, it's Saturday, the Saturday before, thank you, May 14th. If you haven't registered for that, I believe that's open for one more week, correct, Darla? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Josiah.
Josiah.
This time we're moving on to our consent agenda this time. We have just minutes from the April, was it 7th meeting? Yeah. Any questions for the consent agenda this time? Any corrections from staff? Nope. Any questions from council? Okay, with that, we're looking to pass the consent agenda as it currently stands.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We approve the minutes for April 7th, 2026.
Thank you very much for your motion. Can we second the motion, please?
I'll second that.
Motion's in first and seconded. We're looking for a roll call this time.
Counselor Funderburk. Aye. Counselor Duffloff.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
You guys have it. Moving on now to our public hearing for this evening. At this time, we're looking for a motion. Do we need to enter the public hearing? We're looking for a motion to enter the public hearing at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to exit regular meeting and enter into public hearing for public hearing on resolution number 43-2026.
Thank you very much. Can we get a second to that motion, please?
I'll second it.
Motion is the first and second. Can we get a roll call at this time?
Counselor Funderburk. Aye. Counselor Duffloff.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Thank you very much. The ayes have it. The public hearing is now open for the purpose of considering resolution number 43-2026, a resolution adjusting the budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year by adopting a supplemental budget and revising appropriations. The procedure that I would like to follow tonight is in this manner. 1, report from staff. 2, other members of the audience who wish to speak on the issue. 3, close the hearing. At this time, will staff please present the report?
Thank you. So anytime that we are going to adopt a supplemental budget that changes a fund's expenditures by more than 10%, we are required to hold a public hearing. I did attach for you in your packet a copy of the notice that was published. Really, the supplemental budget tonight just considers 2 items. The first is a change in the water fund. So the city has a carriage agreement with the county to provide Amazon water to the campus on South Hill. As part of that agreement, the county established a operating reserve. And so basically the change to the water fund is a pass-through from the data centers to the county to fund that operational reserve as we are the county's customer. The second change there, if you remember, City Council recently created a new fund to account for the bond proceeds for the police station project. While the fund was created, we didn't actually adopt a budget yet to put those funds into the budget. So this shows the bond proceeds coming in and then the corresponding expenditures. Of course, the entire balance won't get spent this fiscal year, but the unused amount will roll forward and be included in the proposed budget for the next fiscal year. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions from council? Okay. With no further questions from council, now is the time for public testimony. Persons who wish to testify, please come to the podium and give your name and address and sign in for the record. You'll be limited to 5 minutes to provide testimony. Are there any members of the audience who wish to speak in favor of this resolution? Are there any members of the audience who wish to speak against this resolution? Are there any members of the audience who wish to speak and are neutral to this proposal? If there's no further testimony, I'd like to take a motion to close the public hearing and go back into our regular council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to exit public hearing on resolution 43-2026 and re-enter regular session.
Thank you for your motion, sir. Can we get a second motion, please?
I'll second it.
Motion's been first and second, and can we get a roll call at this time?
Counselor Funderburk.
Aye.
Counselor Duffloff.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. Moving on now to our new business items for this evening. We have 9.1, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 882. Any questions on that from council? Any presentations or addendums from staff on that? Okay, at this time looking for a motion to.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for a second reading of ordinance number 882 by title only.
Second.
Motion's been first and seconded, and can we get a roll call?
Counselor Funderburk. Aye. Counselor Duffloff.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
We need to read it.
Ordinance number 882, an ordinance amending Umatilla Code Section 761 Park Operating Policy to authorize the city manager or designee to permit alcohol consumption in city parks within an approved special use permit.
Thank you, Nancy. Moving on now to 9.2, resolution number 43.
Mayor Sype, we need an adoption.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to adopt? Looking for a motion right now, if there are no further questions.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to adopt ordinance 882.
Thank you. Can we get a second motion, please?
I'll second.
Motion's in first and seconded. Can we get a roll call?
Counselor Funderburk.
Aye.
Counselor Dufflock.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now moving on to 9.2. Resolution number 43, 2026. Any questions from council on that after the public hearing? Nothing from council, anything from staff at this time? Great, looking for a motion at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We approve new business item 9.2, a motion to approve resolution number 43-2026.
Thank you very much. Can we get a second to the motion, please?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you for your motion. Can we get a roll call at this time?
Counselor Funderburk.
Aye.
Counselor Dufflock.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on now to 9.3, resolution 44, 2026, resolution authorizing the assistant city manager to sign an underground right-of-way easement for an underground electrical distribution and communication lines on city-owned real property.
Yeah, so the proposed easement that's included there for you is necessary to provide electrical service to the city's booster pump operations up on Lind Road. This is part of our Power City Water and Sewer Extension project.
Okay. Any further questions from council on this one? Okay, with no further questions from council, looking for a motion at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 44-2026.
Thank you for your motion, sir. Can we get a second?
I'll second it.
Motion has been first and seconded. Looking for a roll call at this time.
Counselor Funderburk.
Aye.
Counselor Dufflock.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to 9.4, resolution number 45, 2026.
Yeah, so this is a project that council has heard about before. The city actually applied for a design and construction loan to recoat several of the city's reservoirs and construct a new reservoir. The state did not have enough funding at that time, even though we met all of the criteria to fund our project where it was ranked because there was no critical health component to the project. And so in order to keep the project moving in accordance with our master plan, they recommended that we come back and apply for design only funding and then complete the design in hopes that they'll have the additional funding available when it's time for construction. So this authorizes me to submit that loan application.
Okay. Any questions from council this time?
So we won the grant, but there's no money.
Ah.
Copy.
All right.
See,
Can you jinx it? There we go. It wasn't a grant, it was a loan. So it doesn't.
Oh,
Copy.
still.
So they don't even have money to loan. Okay.
No, they gave it to a hospital.
All right.
Okay.
I got nothing.
Any further questions from council this time? All right, with nothing else, looking for a motion at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve resolution number 45-2026.
Thank you very much for your motion. Can we get a second, please?
I'll second it.
Motion's been first and seconded. Can we get a roll call at this time?
Counselor Funderburk.
Aye.
Counselor Dufflock.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on now to item 9.5, resolution 46, 2026.
Thank you. So this is just a continuation of our discussion that we had before as we continue to expand our intergovernmental agreement with our PATH partners. This new IGA, Boardman and Irrigan were added before, but they were non-voting members in the past. This will now make them financial contributors, also adding them to be voters on the advisory committee. The agreement establishes payment terms, which we didn't have before, as the original agreement was also established through state and other funding, as well as it directs us to establish a path fund and to create some reserves on that as well. Operational budget is $750,000 a year in this year with 5% progressions each year thereafter, with the hope and idea that we receive funds through the continuum of care through state funding. And if those funds are received, which are usually approximately $600,000 a year, the net cost would then be split according to those proportionate shares in the agreement. So that's what the agreement is set here. We identified other areas in which this type of partnership supports the PATH strategic plan that was adopted as well.
Great. Okay. Any further questions from council? Okay, with that, we're looking for motion at this time.
I move that we accept resolution number 46-2026.
Thank you for your motion. Can we get a second to the motion, please?
I'll second it.
Nancy, were you able to get all that motion?
Mhm.
Okay.
Counselor Funderburk.
Aye.
Counselor Dufflaw.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan. Counselor McLean.
The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on now to 9.6, the downtown revitalization grant for 610 6th Street. Go ahead.
Hi, council.
So-
Hi, council members. So before you, you have an application for a downtown revitalization grant program from Hard Rock Capital, also known as Old Nicks. So they are resubmitting an application to upgrade their signage. They would like to upgrade it to an LED sign for their business. The total project cost is estimated to be $42,740. So based on the grading criteria in the revised application, and we would like to award the total amount of $25,000. So at this time, staff recommends awarding the amount of $25,000. So I will take any questions at this time.
Do you have questions from council? Okay, no questions from council this time. We're looking for a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the grant award, the $25,000.
Thank you for your motion. We have a second, please.
Second.
Motion's been first and seconded. Can we get a roll call at this time?
Counselor Funderburk.
Aye.
Counselor Dufflaw.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith. Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on now to 9.7, the RTL Alternative Personalized Sound Mitigation Memorandum of Understanding.
Thank you, Mayor. I attached a memo to this agenda item in your packet, as well as the proposal for the memorandum of understanding. You may recall from post-event Rock the Locks report, we certainly acknowledge that the way that community members are impacted, both good or bad, are different throughout the community, especially those that are located closest to the venue. So as we continue to work to identify ways in which we can continue to expand, trying to be a good neighbor while also trying to provide Rock the Locks Music Festival. We had our Mr. Tesh met with our neighbors close by through and try to look at ways in which we might take a little bit different approach from where we've done before. We've made significant investments over the last several years in actual physical investments into the facility and operational policies into how we manage our attempts to curtail, reduce the impacts by sound. This follows those alternatives that we talked about in that post-event report from about 6 months ago, which talk about more along the lines of a more customized approach, individual neighbor, and as a more subjective approach, recognizing that each neighbor is going to have their own unique and experience. So from the outcome of those meetings, created the memo and the MOU in front of you, which really has a couple series of acknowledgements from the city and some from the neighbors. the city will commit to keep some of those front of house sound limits, as well as working with nearby neighbors where we might be able to continue to work in real time and live time at their specific home location. From there, it moves
Dave,
to,
a question about that real quick.
yeah, sure, go ahead.
It says 99 dBA. Was that what it was set to previously? Like, is that the same number? I just couldn't recall.
Yes, so those are the contracted limits from last year, was 99 dBA and 106 dBc.
And I'm trying to recall.
Sure.
You're helping me jog my memory here. Were neighbors more satisfied with that than in years past?
It's hard to say. I would say it was mixed. And so what we had from the data, you might remember, we kind of had sound engineer produced a
that map
that shows sort of that cross of those sounds. And so if sound traveled sort of that through that no man's land of the wall, that middle at a 45-degree angle, then it impacted a neighbor 6 houses to the south and the east of it if it was the main stage, and it was the inverse of that if it was the second stage.
Right.
And so what we got was, when they were not part of that cross of the no man's land, they said, yeah, this was better than it was the year before. But when it wasn't, they said it was about the same, or sometimes they reported that it was even worse. So it was a little bit mixed.
So it says front of house. Is that front of house for just the main stage or for both stages?
It's both stages. So front of house is the term where the sound equipment, where the sound tent is, the sound engineers are located. That's where we're taking that measurement so that we have our constant measurement from there.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, no problem. Good questions. Thank you. So when we prepared the post-event reports, and when we've met with the neighbors here this other time, one of the things they talked about was, is there a way in which some people say, look, I want to support the event, but I don't want to be here. I don't want to hear it. Is there a way in which if I were to travel that maybe you could help? Some said, it's fine, but it would be nice if I could have maybe some help to offset the golf membership. Some said it would be, we like the event. We don't really like that when we're in our house, it's still too loud, but we like it when we're in the festival, but it's still too loud in our house. And so would you be willing to upgrade us to VIP tickets? Some said, look, I don't particularly care for the event, so maybe help me with my utilities or something like that. So the idea here was ABD's report initially from the 2024 event talked about this idea of a subjective approach rather than these objective measurements that we've taken before as a possibility. And that's what triggered us to go and investigate this further. And if you like, Jared could answer a little bit more if you'd like, but generally speaking, this approach was at least moderately, if not well received, but not necessarily by everybody. But at least one of the things they'd like to see in here are the beginning of the memo on the main acknowledgements and the commitments from the city for this event. So those 5 points that are there. So if this was something that council wanted us to pursue, we would do this year's event a little bit different. We would continue to do all the physical modifications and operational things that we've done before, which also will adopt the recommendations from ABD Engineering last year, which is to continue to build up the fence, reorient the stage, those kinds of things, as well as to then work with the neighbors here individually. This time, rather than have ABD out and measuring, we're going to give each of these households located immediately, we'll give them a measuring device. They'll call us, we'll be able to respond on demand and be able to make adjustments in live time to be able to try to get there. Now, if they're, generally speaking, if it's 65 dBA at their house, we typically say that's pretty good. That's where you and I, when you stand next to each other and you talk, you're talking at about 65 decibels. And so if someone comes back and says it's too loud and we're measuring something like 60 or 62, that might engage into a longer conversation. But if it's 70 or 75, then we definitely have a big problem. We're going to make some of those adjustments. So it's meant to be in live time in ways that we can make those adjustments with them. Now, yeah, I know that's really crackly, isn't it?
Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah. Mic number 1, no bueno. Mic number 2, we're in good shape.
Thanks, Dave.
Other than that, I'm happy to kind of go further, answer any questions you might have, but that's the general idea of this program.
I have so much. I don't want to seem insensitive. I really don't. But I'm going to just say what I have to say. When you Google the average decibel inside of a home listening to TV is 60 to 70. So what you're saying is we're anticipated to have that level inside of a home while we have a rock concert going on 200 feet away. To me, that's kind of out of the realm to think that, because a truck driving by a house or a car driving by the house is going to be even louder than that. So the other part is I'm really not a fan of rewarding 10 people and not even looking at what about the people that are on callus? What about the other people that are affected by this? What about the traffic? Okay. The implementation, where does it end? Where do we stop with it? We spent thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars on sound mitigation, and we've got it to an acceptable level to what a typical person in a courtroom would understand what that would be. We've gone far above and beyond everything I feel. And while I understand, and again, please don't get me wrong, I am being sympathetic about it, but I'm also thinking about everybody else. And so we're going to give these people of the community dollars, basically, and we're not offering it to anybody else. So I don't know. I'm kind of opposed to it. And I think we're going above and beyond. I think we're doing everything we can do, but I don't think it's fair to the other people in the community. So we're giving away 50% off on rock concert tickets. And it sounds like to me that, and this sounds really bad to say, but me getting free utilities or a free golf membership for my inconvenience, I mean, I can understand that, but are we going to do it again? Where does it end? So you got the people on Klickitat or on Yakima Street, and those are tight areas, and you got big buses and trucks coming through there, and they're inconvenienced too, because that truck going by is, I'll guarantee, louder than 70 decibels. So, I mean, if we're talking about apples and apples, where does it end? That's kind of my vision and my viewpoint of it. I'm only one of six. So, I'm opposed to one person or persons getting any more than anybody else. I think everything, we talk about equity and we talk about fairness and we talk about transparency, then it needs to be with everybody. That's just kind of where I sit with it. Sorry.
No, you don't gotta be sorry. I agree with you a lot actually, that. So when with this here, this will, it's gonna be a case by case, right? Is it kind of what it is? Or is it a one size fits all for?
So this one was to identify the roughly dozen neighbors located on the 400 block of Walla Walla Street on the north side of that street. So the immediately adjacent neighbors. Part of the reason why that's the proposal here, we could shrink it or expand it, however council might like. The proposal there was because we had in the sound engineer's report, M3 was the neighbor directly behind main stage, M4 was behind the second stage, M5 was there on Cowlitz and Yakima. And so the data at the M5 reading was almost, I mean, with some exception, of course, but generally speaking, it was between 5 to 7 decibels lower than M3 and M4 were located all the time. Where M3 and M4 were averaging this last year around 65 to 70 dBA, it was averaging between 60 to 67. And so it was, and so we felt that level didn't rise to that level of impact. One of the other reasons why staff is recommending looking to adopt this MOU and offer it to those neighbors is it would be a trade-off where in the past we've continued to use ABD engineering, and they've set all those up and they've measured sound to the 1/4 of a second throughout 24 hours a day, 4 days during the festival. This would now, there would be no ABD this year, which that contract is about 60, last year it was $67,000, give or take a few thousand. And this offering here would be roughly 1,500 times 12. So it would be about a third of the price of what we've hired ABD to do, and then take that different operational approach rather than getting that hard objective data with that big report from ABD at the end. The idea is we have those devices, staff is capturing each of those interactions that we have during the event, whatever those might be, documenting those, where the levels were, and then coordinating those in a more, I guess, intimate setting, one-on-one with those neighbors, rather than just having it be that report that way. So it's by far a different approach this year to take a look at it, but the delta in cost to the city is about $40,000 or $45,000.
Is this going to be like a reoccurring thing for, like, 'cause it sounds like there's a different solution for every one of these people. Some want a golf membership, some want, a vacation or something, but is it going to be a reoccurring thing where we have to do this every single year, like reoccurring, like, hey, you just basically have a free golf membership for life now? Or is it going to be like a one-time thing, kind of like a buy-off? I mean, how does that exactly work? And then once we get all these different solutions for each person, are you going to come back and bring us the different solutions, and we will individually see, if we approve that or not? Or is it going to be how's that going to work? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, so the MOU is for just 2026 festival this year, so that we can assess how it went, the successes or the failures that it had during the event. It will certainly be included as part of the post-event report. The proposal was not to bring each individual one back to council. It was to approve the MOU program, and then it's kind of set up like almost like an application. You check which option you would like, and then how you'd like to set that up to go up to 1540. We can certainly set it up where each one of these could come back to council if that's the preference.
I just want to kind of counter what Taryn's saying about, I understand his perspective on why are we doing this for a certain group of people. I also think it's not fair to them. We want to talk about equity, that we as a council have created a quiet golf course into a concert venue, and I think that for many of them, they feel pretty still upset about that, and frankly, rightfully so. I think that the concert has evolved into a more successful event and something that's kind of grown and developed, and hopefully it continues to grow and develop. But I still think it left a lot of the citizens who retired or moved to that neighborhood thinking that it would be a quiet golf course for the rest of their lives, or until they chose to move somewhere else, kind of a shock. And I think a lot of them are still reeling from that. And I think it's unfair for us as a council to decide to have a concert in their backyard for 6 years. But that's my perspective.
If I could add on that just a little bit. So one of the eligibility criteria, the second point, says that they need to have resided in the property prior to or have not purchased the property after the first Rock the Locks Festival of 2023. And so, for example, if somebody were to come and buy it today, it's very clear publicly that this event happens this weekend each year. My understanding on case law, they call that arriving at the nuisance. So the nuisance is there, you knew all about it, you arrived at it, you don't really get to kind of do it. In this case, what we're saying here is we brought the nuisance here, you were here, and we 362 days of the year, there is not a music festival. There are 355 days of the year, there's not even a music festival being planned. It's a golf course by every intent and purpose there. And so this acknowledges that those that are coming later, this wasn't meant to be offered to anybody that came after that 2023 event.
So part of that case law, Dave, I'm curious about, this might be a question more for legal, is that if we change the date, does that reopen this again? Because if we change the nuisance to a different time and date, does that change it?
May I let Joanna answer that? Sure.
Hello, Joanna Lyons, Antley City Attorney. No, I think the fact that it exists and it doesn't change the nature of the nuisance. The nuisances there's a standard for, it's called deliberate indifference. It has to be objectively and subjectively unreasonable for the city to be responsible for such a nuisance. So in this case, I don't think that it even comes a scant close to becoming a nuisance. So I feel comfortable with all of the efforts that the city has done throughout the years, and continuing to consider the neighbors' concerns. I don't think it rises to a level of nuisance.
I just want to, are you done asking?
Go ahead. Ms. Funderburk, go ahead.
Just two things. So, oh my God, where am I at? One is I'm not quite sure, like, with the travel reimbursement, is there going to be a limit to that? Because I could see people going, well, I'm going to go to Hawaii. I'm going to fly first class. I'm going to do all these things. And then, so is there a limit for that?
Yeah, excellent. So it's a menu of options with an amount up to $1,540. So they can arrive to that maximum however they choose their own adventure to get there as far as the menus are available.
Okay. And my other thing is, do we get any complaints for noise for like landing days? For all the people that live near there? Because that's every year. Plus we have fireworks. So I'm just curious, does anybody complain about that?
I can recall, I don't remember if it was 22 or 23. I've had probably one complaint about noise from landing
Okay.
days of
And
each of
we've
these
done that every year,
each year.
those concerts. Okay.
Mhm.
And also we also have a parade too. That's kind of noisy too. So that's why I'm just kind of like, I see both sides, but I'm like, we already have landing days. That's loud. And again, I'm comparing to other cities like Pendleton has the roundup. People go, they had that for years. And so I don't know. I am very, yeah, this is hard for me.
I think the difference though, Karina, I think Joanna highlighted on this. I don't want to speak for her, but or not. It was actually wasn't Joanna. It was Dave. I think those who arrive the nuisance, we've created the nuisance. For people who are doing landing days, a lot of them have bought the properties prior to when we've been doing landing days. So we've had landing days
But
for
we've been doing landing days forever.
exactly. So that's what I'm saying is the nuisance has been there. So if someone buys a property there or rents a property there, the nuisance is already there. Rock the Locks is a new nuisance that we created. And there's people who owned these houses before Rock the Locks started that weren't aware of this nuisance.
I
And now
understand
we've
it.
created it.
I get what
Yeah,
you're saying.
that's all I'm saying.
I just, and I agree to you,
Mhm.
but I also agree that we can't just, and for lack of a better term, offer this to this group of people and not to everyone. To me, that's unfair.
I think it's also unfair that we punish them for a weekend where they play loud noises.
But we're also punishing everybody else.
Who gets loud noise there around?
Look, but I think the key
They're
difference though is where that's the reason why we selected this neighborhood is because of data. We're not just arbitrarily picking these 12 neighbors, we're picking the neighborhood and the neighbors that were impacted the most. I think that's the key difference here, and that's
The question is 65 decibels a nuisance? Is it?
I'd like to know what the nuisance level is.
And that's my point. That's why I
Yeah.
brought up 65 decibels is a TV inside of a house.
Yeah, and we're
So-
only playing up to the noise ordinance essentially, isn't it? Maybe.
Correct.
So, I mean, we're doing this during normal operating hours or,
Correct.
so I don't know. I kind of agree with Darren on this because it's just.
And that's my point. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get it to a point where it's acceptable as per a TV. And like I said, Google it. It's between 60 and 70 decibels within a house. So with that in mind, to me, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
We've gotten it to a place to where it's reasonable.
Yeah. And do we still have a few tweaks coming up this year to mitigate more of the sound, Dave? It sounded like you said we have a couple more things we're going to try yet.
Yeah, so we have a few operational additions this year. One, it's a different stage this year than we've had in the past. We have bigger bands and they required a bigger stage. So the stage is bigger. But we've updated the contract with PSI, who's the sound engineer for the stages, not for the study. They're required to provide their operational plan, which will include their elevations of the sound arrays, of the speaker arrays, and the sound checks that are to occur starting as early as on the Wednesday prior to, and we'll be measuring and things like that to make some of those adjustments. The stage, the ABD also talked about reorienting the stage by about up to 10 degrees more northward. That was in the report, so we'll be doing that as well. And then the no man's land area as well. We do have some additional sound curtains, so we don't have to purchase any more. We're going to increase the height of those by approximately 4 feet to see what sort of benefit we might get from that. So there will be some operational changes that are there. The question would be if we don't go with the alternative here, this question staff is definitely going to have is, do we move forward with ABD again for about $65,000 or $70,000 a year for their report and their study so that we can get good data with them? Do we hire nobody and we make the adjustments that we have and go from there? Or do we go with this option here, which is a little less than $20,000 a year?
Almost think we should at least try this one coming up year with these tweaks and stuff. And if we can be not a nuisance, so to speak, then, you know, problem solved maybe. I don't know. I understand what the mayor's saying. I do get it. But at what point is it a nuisance versus not a nuisance? I mean, if 65 is acceptable, then are we even a problem? I know we weren't there prior to those guys moving in, you know, it came after the fact, but what is acceptable in the city, you know, legally?
Mr. Smith, I think, go ahead.
I agree with Councilor Dufflaw. I think we've made a lot of accommodations that we've tried, and to essentially bribe people for their silence, I just don't like the idea. I think it's wrong. Part of living in a city is putting up with your neighbors. And I really feel that's part of what this is. It's not that they're screaming amount of noise in their house to where they couldn't sleep. Like Mr. Dufflaw said, it's basically a TV inside your house. I'm just not in favor of this at all. I think we should continue to try to mitigate it as much as we can without spending a huge amount of money. We've already spent a fair amount. And that's my opinion.
Thank you. Is there any further questions or comments from council at this time? Okay, with no.
If I could, Mayor.
Mr. Tesh, you're trying to.
Yes,
go ahead.
since he, we contracted Engage to elevate his company and he met with them individually. If you had something else to add, I'd be more than happy to receive that.
Go for it.
You can.
Just use the microphone up there.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. Nope, that one's broken.
Yeah, that's shots fired.
Yeah.
You get that going.
Joe Tesh, Engaged to Elevate, and I was contracted to meet with those neighbors and meet. So I want to address this on a couple of things. As was already pointed out, this was not done haphazardly. Data truly informed this process, and no alternative mitigation or individualized mitigation was not pursued initially because we wanted the data to be able to say these are the residents who are truly affected by not just noise, but every other aspect of the event. And so we clearly have the data that shows the heat map of on that block, that side of the block in particular. So that's sound. And the one thing I will point out is, though 65 is the sound of a TV, at least myself, I turn off the TVs when I go to bed, and we sleep. And unlike in this case, they aren't able to control the TV being turned off or on, or the conversations happening that are being forced into their house during the time of the venue. So though it is, you're right, that sound is a sound we can all live with day to day during the day when we're going about. If you're inside your home and you don't want that sound, they don't have the option to turn off the sound. And that nuisance, like Mayor Sipe brought up, was brought on by the city's decision to put that there post them purchasing their home. It is mixed in terms of some people wanted some wanted another. It is also mixed in their support levels of the event itself. But this, like we said, is really about acknowledging that we brought the nuisance to them, and we are acknowledging that they are the residents. It is a benefit to the city, and most of them want to continue to support it in some way, but it is truly a nuisance. And for a couple of them, it's a health nuisance. There is legitimate issues. The community is very well united in that particular neighborhood in support of one another for this. And this was a way that the majority of the residents felt that the city was finally acknowledging that they were the ones taking the brunt of the event for the other 10,000 people who attended or 10,000 people, 7,000 people in Umatilla who want the event. Again, I want to emphasize it's not that they don't necessarily want the event. There are a couple, of course, that don't want it at all. And there'll always be that case, but they are in support of each other. This is a way for the council in particular to acknowledge that this multi-million-dollar event that we have put in their backyard on a golf course is impacting them out of everybody. And so that's, again, maybe it's because I met with them in their homes and I've talked to them for many hours, and I'm empathetic to that situation. I believe it is an amazing event. I appreciate that it puts Umatilla on the map for something that isn't notorious or bad, but something that people are excited to come to Umatilla in many ways and want to see this go forward. And I just think that this is a small price to pay. And then my last thing, equal and fair. Those are not the same thing. In education, we talk about that a lot. You don't give every kid the exact same thing. You give a kid what they need to be successful. And in this case, you're right. Not every resident in Umatilla is going to get this benefit because people on South Hill or down here in Umatilla, or even where I live on Rio Senda, are not affected by the event. In fact, at my home, I would not know that the event is going on. I wouldn't. If there wasn't signage and other things, I would not hear it. I literally walked. That was part of what I analyzed and everything. I walked to the event every day. I walked around the neighborhood every day. Outside of some signage, there was, and obviously you see the physical disruption to the golf course. It did not affect me, a McNair resident. So I do not need to be compensated for the nuisance, or I don't need to be told sorry for this impacting your life. But these neighbors are truly impacted. They then purchase those homes with the expectation that this is a golf course in their backyard. And again, expectations change, yes. But if we are trying to be good neighbors, and if we are trying to advocate for the people in Umatilla, no matter who they are, where they live, and how this affects them, this is the most fair option that impacts the people most directly by this event for a few days. And again, it allows them, the people with health concerns, it allows them to leave. The people who want to support the event, it gives them something else, even though it's acknowledging that it's an inconvenience or a nuisance or whatever language you want to use for them most directly. So again, I would advocate highly for this. You are a council and it is up to you, but again, I would like you to consider at least those things, particularly that fair versus equal. We don't give everybody the same thing because that's not necessarily right either. We give people what they need based on the circumstances and what is right based on the circumstances. And that's why we have a council. That's why we make legislations and court system, because we're constantly trying to balance out those needs, the greater versus the minority versus the majority and vice versa. So you have a hard task. It's all on you. Please, but again, I would advocate for that, just this opportunity to see, again, as a mitigation strategy, at least for this year. Sure, we're going to make a couple of tweaks, but is this something that will bring us just one step closer to a more full resolution?
Yeah.
So I have a couple more questions.
Real quick. So one thing I want to point out as well is that like the city has codes, rules, and regulations, and one of those is, we have the Parks and Rec rules and regulations that state that use of any loudspeaker, CD or radio, CD, tape player, or other amplified device which can be heard from a distance of more than 50 feet, except with a permit issued by the city manager or has his degree. If we're doing it more than 50 feet, we are creating a nuisance. These people that we've highlighted and data has shown that these are a nuisance. It is wrongfully impacting them. They didn't ask for this. They didn't want this. We as a council and we as a city have selected to do this.
Did that say without a permit?
Without a
Without
permit.
we get it.
Yeah.
So we issue ourselves our own permit.
But
It's a mute subject.
But we just issue ourselves our own permit.
Yes.
And then we expect the citizens to deal with the impact and we just walk away.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a part of it.
There's kind of two things there. One, there's that on the permit, and that's true. We do issue ourselves a permit, but on top of that as well, parks are also exempt from that section of code. There's another section of the code that talks about parks being exempt because parks are used for these community purposes and benefits. It's the same reason why sports fields are also exempt for the noise as well if it goes past a certain time and stuff like that. So we have these public spaces that are exempt from that. But that said, the idea there is, I believe, well said, that the attempt here with this is exactly to do what it says, as an alternative personalized sound mitigation measure. And like we said, we've engaged with these neighbors significantly from the beginning of this event over the last number of years, and certainly since the last event as well, to get to this proposed MOU. And so it's about, like I said, it's about 1/3 the cost of what we've been doing before. It allows us to continue to work with them individually and see where this might go. It's more of a partnership approach with the neighbors. And as Jared mentioned, some of the neighbors here are, I would say, maybe indifferent. Either they support it or they don't. What they definitely do is support each other. And one of the things they've said as a neighborhood is something like this is something that they could support as a partnership as we try to move forward.
Mr. McMillan, I think
I do have something.
Hold on real quick, Mr. McMillan. Do you have a comment you wanted to
I
add?
did actually. So does this appease all the neighbors? So if we do this and all of a sudden like all the neighbors going to be on board and we're not going to have complaints afterwards, even if we actually have volume spikes of 104 or something like that. But the other question I have that goes along with that is what about the regular people throughout town that, their neighbors throwing a party? I mean, my neighbors can easily exceed, 65 decibels for hours and hours on end. And it's just part of life. It's part of the human experience. I mean, I have to sleep early too. And these guys are rocking out and I know it's just people enjoying their lives, so you just kind of just like, whatever, but.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I completely understand what you're saying. And I completely understand the fact that you're listening to those 10 homes. I understand. But have you talked to other people in other communities?
Yes.
And they're okay giving money to these people?
Are you talking about Umatilla? Are you talking about, I lived in Pendleton for 8 years? Like, I mean, what do you?
In the city of McNary, let's say.
Yes.
Have you told the people and it's okay for us to give $1,500 to those houses?
I talked to people outside of just those homes, and several of them were in that particular area. They, I even say, hey, this is for you. This would be for the other people. And they were actually in support because they recognize that it does not affect them like it affects their neighbors. Again, the person we met with was against the proposal.
Okay. And I can show you 10 people right now that do oppose to it. So, I mean, we can go back and forth all day.
Correct. That's why I'm saying this is truly about you making a decision around a minority versus a majority. And who are you going to protect or support? Now, again, that's what we do all the time. We legislate, and when judges sit in the chair and the way America works, you are balancing the decisions of the public entity, the police or the city creating this event, and is the city's action causing the harm? Now, private versus private, neighbors making noise There's other things you could go to with the police or whatever else, there, whatever it is. This is the city, a public entity decision to do something that affects the neighborhood. But that is what we do. Right? We decide, is that enough? We're done. You're going to live with it. We recognize that this is harming this individual group because of X, Y, and Z. So we're going to do X, Y, Z to protect or not. So again, that's what we do. I'm not placing judgment. I'm just saying that's why a council exists and you get to make these hard decisions.
But if my neighbor's at 65 decibels, what recourse do I have? The police would come and say, hey, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing you can do about it. That's my point, I guess, is if we're not a nuisance. I mean, maybe it's annoying, maybe they don't like it,
But you
is
can
it
you can do
illegal?
a sound. You
Huh?
can do a sound nuisance. You can call the police, and if
Sure, but if
hours,
it's not over a certain decibel, they're not breaking the law.
they don't have decibel meters in their cars. They're gonna walk.
But that's what I'm
decibel
saying.
meter
Like,
and
if
they do
it's a
that.
reasonable decibel, that's the whole point. Are we being reasonable?
Can I wait? Actually, hold on, real quick.
What
Chief,
we
see a question. Chief, how many noise complaints do you get per year? Approximate. Give us a ballpark.
Very few.
Okay, very few. But do they still exist?
They do exist, but
And how many have you ever said, "Hey, you need to turn it down"? Can you think of any?
I wouldn't have those stats, Mr. Mayor.
But you would think that at some point in time, within a year, we had to ask someone to turn something down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it was probably at 2 in the morning though, outside of the allowed hours.
Perhaps.
My point is, like, are we a nuisance? I mean,
Yes.
are we?
Well,
The question.
our data did show that we spiked above 65 several times. Like, that's why we know that that's a hot area. And that's why, even though we want that to be our number and to protect that number, that is still the hot area, the area affected by.
What's the law actually say?
So
What's the law actually say, the one at decibels, allowed decibels?
So our city code on noise doesn't have a set decibel number. What it is if you can hear it during these hours and it's this duration of time and consistency, and you can hear it in your own dwelling or on your own property. Our code does give, as I mentioned before, general exceptions. It says noise created by a community outdoor activity or event conducted in public parks, playgrounds, or public or private school grounds. And that's been the code since 2010, so well before this event. The 65 decibels is the number that we created because of the data that came from ABD's report from 2024. At 2024 seemed to be the threshold that came from the data that came back from the neighbors. At or around 65 decibels of dBA is where we started to get the complaint. And again, it wasn't every single house was that way, but right at that area. So we looked at correlation between what was the decibel reading at the front of house versus what it was at M3 and M4, those two neighbors behind. And so that's how we set our 99 dBA and our 106 dBc. Now, the majority of the complaints last year didn't really come from dBA. They mostly came from low frequency dBc. And so at the beginning of the event, Jared and I actually went into a neighbor's house because they were saying, hey, I have this piece of metal art on the wall and it's rattling and I don't like that. So we said, we'd like to come check that out. And she said, yeah, come on in. So we went in and sure enough, it's rattling. It's doing exactly as we said it would be. And so we're on the radio, we're working with the engineer and we got it down, stop rattling. We asked the neighbor, would this be acceptable to you, to what you're seeing now? No more rattling on the wall. And she says, yeah, I can live with this. I can turn my TV up louder if I don't want to hear it, or I can go to the other room in the house where I wouldn't hear it. But this is okay. The dBA, the 65 dBA didn't seem to be so much. So I want to kind of focus the conversation more on that, because to your point on the Google, Councilor Duffloff, in your house you're watching TV, it's at that way. I think that's true, but you still can't, it's different unless you're running a subwoofer and something like that. You can have, your dBA can be 65, but if your low frequencies are pounding, that's a totally different experience. If you have, you set up your house, your landscaping, your art and things like that, a little bit different, that interact with the environment in which they're in with sound, that's a little bit different. So all of those things are quite interesting. So for this, we were looking at a way to, again, try to work with the neighbors and see if there was a way in which we might be able to offer these alternative mitigation strategies, not just the physical world of the event, but the actual living world, I suppose, of what they're at. And that's why we went down this road.
Does
So-
this buy off all the neighbors who complained then?
Yeah, Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Couple things. One, I know this is just for 1 year, but we're going to set a precedent here. If we do it this year, nobody's going to go away if we don't want to do it next year. We just need to keep that in focus. I also feel that the proceedings have been hijacked, that Jared is testifying, not answering questions. He's going well beyond any question asked. And that's not how it's supposed to work at city council. So I am opposed still to giving money and just, yeah, I think the city's being held up. You know, if they're all of a sudden happy, if they get $1,500, how unhappy were they?
If I can respond to that. So one of the things that's also part of this is in this memo is to continue to work with them in real time and live time and have monitoring at each of their individual houses. Now, it's not even close to as sophisticated as the equipment and operations and methodology that ABD does. This was meant to be more of a one-on-one individual experience and to work with them. So one of the things that we might be able to achieve as we make these changes, we reorient the stage, we have the physicality of what we're doing in the operations of the event. We might be able to come up and say, look, we're in your home, and the data right now, the proposal for 26 is these 12 neighbors. Maybe that data changes next year and it gets better. Maybe it's that, look, we can't seem to control no man's land. It's really these 4 houses or whatever I don't know what the outcome would be. But the idea with this is to pivot our approach a little bit and our mitigation methodology a little bit. We're still going to incorporate those physical things that we've done before, but take a look at it again. That's why, again, we're proposing it just for 1 year, for 2026, and seeing what the results of that might be. And we'd like to at least try that and come with a report. There is terms in here. It is just for 1 year. There is no commitment, or we can strengthen the language if you'd like to see that. Specifically, that says that there's just because it's offered in 26 does not mean it's offered again in 27. We will reevaluate and assess the event and take a look at it later if that's helpful.
Mr. McMillan, do you have anything to add to that?
I was just going to ask, is this going to appease all the neighbors then? All the ones that complain, is this, if we do this, is every one of them on board with this? And they're going to say, yep, green light, you guys can do whatever, rock your hearts out. Or are we still going to have complaint?
They certainly can complain. This isn't a non-remonstrance agreement, meaning that they don't get to fight or complain about it. This is a memorandum of understanding. It's an acknowledgement by the city and an acknowledgement by the neighbors that we're pivoting and trying a different approach in 2026.
I think I'm saying this wrong. I meant are all the neighbors on board? I should have said it that way. Are they all on board saying, yes, if you compensate us travel or whatever, $1,500, we're okay?
I would say the majority of the neighbors, with the exception of perhaps one, seems to be at least moderately, if not significantly, willing to see what this looks like in 2026.
Bruce, you have anything to add? Oh, sorry, Mr. Plouffe, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think that we have to have a level of community tolerance. And I truly believe that we have to tolerate each other. That's how it works. And I truly believe that we live in a community to where I don't have to necessarily like my neighbor, but I have to tolerate them. I have to accept them. And part of that is just in change, right? There's a lot of changes that have happened in my life. And over the course of my 28 years of being in Umatilla, I don't necessarily like every one of them, but I accept them. And that's kind of where I'm getting at. I have to have my personal perspective when I sit up here isn't about McNary. It isn't about those 10 homes. It's about everybody in this, within this community. I truly, even though I don't necessarily agree with people, I can also understand where they're coming from. I completely understand that. But I also agree that there has to be tolerance upon us. As community members, we have to accept things as they are. Now, do I think that we've created a nuisance? Yes. Have we done things to mitigate that? Also, yes. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Had we 3 years ago gave them $1,500, maybe this would have saved us $250,000, $300,000. Okay, but I agree with Lyle. Where does it end? Does it keep going? I mean, then all of a sudden, other people get involved. Hey, that's $1,500. I want some of that. Where does it end? And as us being the sheepdogs, I think we have to be mindful and cognizant of that. So I still sit where I am. And again, I don't want to sound insensitive. I know I sound like a dirty, bald-headed white guy with no perspective of others, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, I truly, in my heart, have to look at what's best for the community. And I believe that all 7,000 people that live in this community have to be represented, not just the 10 or 12 or 20. That's my personal opinion.
Yep.
Community tolerance.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments, Mr. McLean? Do you have anything to add?
So we have engineering changes we're making. This for the upcoming event.
Yeah, from the stage sound engineers, yes.
Okay, I'm going to take this a different direction. If we're making changes, maybe this MOU is a year premature. I mean, you had said if we don't proceed with the MOU, you're going to want direction on, you know, whether we continue to spend money on the upgraded sound measuring devices. If we're making changes, I think maybe we're ahead of ourselves on this to see what the changes this year have happened with the neighbors. I too am worried about creep on the MOU. I'm worried about fairness. I'm worried about, how we appear we're dealing with neighbors. I'm really torn here, but the one thing that pops into my head is maybe we're just a year ahead on this, and what we need to do is to go through this year and get the maps and see if we've actually made any changes that do anything. If we choose to go ahead with the MOU down the road, I can probably live with basing the decision on not being fair to the whole community based on the science of the sound maps. But the sound maps after 2026 are not going to be the sound maps after 2025, hopefully.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I think also these people, where they're at, I think a lot of them, they're not going, they're going to fight it every year, no matter what. These people, a few of them. I mean, we're not going to make them happy at all every year. And I'm worried it's going to turn into, now we want more money. Now we want, and it's, I don't know, that's my biggest concern, I think.
Okay. Any further questions from council this time? Okay. With no further questions or comments, we're looking for a motion as it stands.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to approve Rock the Box Alternative Personal Sound Mitigation MOU.
Thank you, Mr. McLean, for your motion. Can we have a second for the motion, please?
I'll second it.
Motion has been first and seconded. Can we get a roll call at this time?
Counselor Funderburk.
Aye.
Counselor Duffloff.
Nay.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Nay.
Counselor Smith.
Nay.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Nay.
Counselor McLean.
Oh, I meant to say nay. I misunderstood the question. Sorry. You can count me for.
Would you like to change your vote?
I misunderstood how it was questioned. I'm sorry. I thought we were just deciding, we were just after a discussion, we were just done with our discussion. I didn't know it was on that. I apologize.
Let the record show that Councilmember
He's just
Funderburg has
confused.
changed her vote to nay.
Thank you. I was writing, I'm sorry, during the, sorry.
I've waited almost 3 years for this moment. Finally got a no vote on something. All right, moving on now to our second
Mr.
public comment period.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
could I provide some direction for staff regarding that?
regarding 9.7, do you want to make that a discussion item? Or do you want to do it now?
Whatever's most appropriate.
Do you want to do it now?
You can stay on topic even though you've had the vote. We can.
Yep. Okay, let's stay on topic.
So based on my earlier comments, I would like for us to, you asked for specific direction. I would like for us to continue the relationship with the sound measuring company for one more year throughout this, the next event. Understanding that it makes a significant difference in this, but I think the additional year of sound maps with the stage changes is going to be important to have.
Agreed.
So I think that I agree with what you're saying, Bruce, from an analytical perspective, but it would also cost us more money. And if the conversation of why we just voted that down is going to cost us more money, well, it's going to cost us an additional $45,000 to do another sound study instead of just doing the mitigation, which we just said no to. Mr. Reader-Smith.
I think we were not really making a financial decision.
No.
I think it was an ethical one.
Correct.
So spending some more money, maybe it's something we actually need to put to a vote at some point, but that really wasn't the reason that got turned down.
Correct.
It was that we did not believe this is something the city should be doing.
Right.
All right, so
with that, your budget committee meets next month. There'll be an adjustment on how we set the budget for Rock the Locks of a net upward. We'll probably round it to 50,000 with the idea that there's inflation with engineering and especially scientific data and stuff like that. So you'll see that adjustment in your Rock the Locks section of your proposed budget.
Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion to ask you to do that, or are we just going to do?
No,
that
I mean, you
separate?
can vote on it as a budget committee, as a budget overall as a whole. If you'd like to do a motion to direct to say absolutely do it, you definitely can do that, but we would like to give it to you as part of an overall proposed budget. That'd be our preference.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think that's cleaner.
You're still going to have the opportunity to vote on it. You're just going to be, it'll be part of the budget process.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Any further questions on this from council? Okay, now moving on to our public comment period. Chief, do you have anyone added to our public comment period? People speak. Oh, for the next discussions?
Yeah, so the lighter item on the agenda on funding requests, if you're here with the special district, you'll have an opportunity to speak during that agenda item. We don't need it for public comment unless you have another public comment.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. That makes sense. All right. No further public comment. We're moving on to discussion item number 11.1, discussion of the funding request received by the taxing districts. This is a discussion only.
Yeah, thank you. So included in your packet tonight is a summary of the various funding requests that we received from the taxing districts. You all will remember that we provided through the urban renewal process an outreach summary. Zach and I had the opportunity to meet with the taxing district, most of the directors, and a large majority of their boards. And we really appreciated the engagement and participation from the taxing districts. Throughout that process, the feedback that we got was really varied from district to district. Some of them understood and were in support of the urban renewal area and did not seek any funding. In fact, the majority of the taxing districts supported the concept, but there were some varying levels of acknowledgement on financial impact. And so we did receive the 4 funding requests that are included in your packet tonight. We do have representatives from all taxing districts, but the Mosquito district, theirs is the first summary there. And so since the districts are here and would like the opportunity to speak, if council is okay with it, we can go one by one. I would kind of, just from a staff perspective, as we worked to develop recommendations, it was really a balancing act. We are in the process of trying to create a balanced budget that we will be bringing to City Council and the Budget Committee this time in May. Since we had our outreach meetings, a couple financial assumptions have changed for us that we've already discussed with City Council. There is a delay in construction on one of the data centers on South Hill, and so we will not be receiving a rather large $2.5 million payment that we did anticipate in the next fiscal year. And then in doing our property tax projections, we did learn that Amazon will be taking a depreciation deduction, so we will not really see any increase in property taxes to speak of. It's about $50,000 increase, about just under 2% for us for next year. So really, when we looked at these recommendations, they were made in a spirit of trying to be a good partner and also balancing the fact that we have recently learned that we are going to have a lot less money next year than we thought we were going to. So that was kind of our thought there. So the first recommendation that is included in your packet was from the Mosquito District. The correspondence that I attached from them didn't really outline a specific dollar amount. So I did have some follow-up back and forth with Randy to kind of identify what their average annual cost that they're spending on city festivals. That really seemed to be the largest impact to them now that we haven't seen before. And that's what we included there. So if I took a 3-year cost average of both events over the past 3 years, it worked out to about $28,000 a year. He made it really clear that that cost can vary by year, depending on what's going on with the mosquitoes. And so there was no, this is exactly what we're going to spend. But that would be the recommendation, that we essentially have an MOU for reimbursement up to, in next year's case, 30,000 with a 3% escalation. And so since Randy is not here, I will see if council has any questions on that request. And we're not looking for, as we go through these, my recommendation would be to go through one by one, and then staff will kind of seek direction as we work to balance the budget.
What page is Randy's on again?
So the memo started on page 129 of your packet.
Thank you. They're asking for $30,000 for 30 years. Is that what they're asking for? I just want to have some clarification on that, because I'm 3% escalation per year. So
the idea would none of this funding would be indefinite in any of our recommendations. So the urban renewal area, these funding requests were made in correlation to the impact of urban renewal. Council could decide there is a point in 2036 where revenue sharing is set to start. If our projections are accurate, we could fund that until revenue sharing from the urban renewal kicked in, or council could decide to fund it through the entirety of the urban renewal period until the urban renewal area is concluded or retired.
Okay.
So I essentially, we're just doing this for 10 years, and then once that kicks in, is that what you're saying, basically?
We could be doing it for a period of 10 years or longer at councils.
yeah, we're deciding that now. We're looking for a deliberation or discussion
Got you.
to do
Yeah.
that. That's
So
Oh, okay.
the urban renewal is anticipated to last up to 20 years. Although our projections show that we hit our maximum indebtedness about 18 years. And
Okay.
so as Melissa stated, so between now and 2035, there isn't any change in funding. That's what's happening with Enterprise Zone and those funds that are there. And then in 2036 would be the year in which revenue sharing would begin. And so there's essentially your options would be, obviously you could say do nothing. You could say, well, between now and until revenue sharing kicks on, while you're having these events, this is what you do. And then when revenue sharing begins, because the districts at that time are getting more, they're just getting less of more. You'd be able to say, well, now at least the 30,000 additional is coming from revenue sharing, so we don't need to do that anymore. Or you can say, while this continues, it'll be through the duration of urban renewal, regardless of whether revenue sharing is happening or not, and it could start immediately, or you could pick a year in which you wanted that to start.
You could also do one other option, which would be not to provide this until 2035, when the
Revenue sharing.
property actually, when the financial impact actually occurs, when taxes are diverted from the taxing district to the urban renewal
Gotcha.
area. And that is kind of similar to the options that we outlined. We'll talk in a minute about the library district. And so looking at like a full meal deal, or option A or B would be to fund the first 10 or the back half of it, or you can do the entire thing.
Mr. McLean, do you have is that a hand raise?
Been working through this.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I have to switch gears because when I was looking at it, I was looking at it from a different perspective. So
Yeah, so $30,000 at a 3% increase for 10 years is is what we're asking for, what they're asking for right now.
Yeah.
That's what we're willing to give.
To be clear, I think that they would be pretty happy and content with what we provided. When you'll see the letter or that we first received just says that they were looking for, let me find this language, more of a flexible funding mechanism.
Right.
They didn't call out a specific duration or dollar amount. So really the amount that's in here came from a little bit more back and forth, really trying to get the crux of how they're impacted.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any issue with giving them that as long as they're happy. Yeah.
And maybe it would be prudent, because we're looking at the budget as a whole, to go through each one before we say yay or nay to any, because the total dollar amount does change.
What's our current total dollar amount right now?
We don't have a current total dollar amount in mind, but the total amount needed to balance the budget will depend on how many, if all or none, or any variety of level that you guys want to support these requests.
So I would recommend council, as well as you're continuing to consider this. I do think there's a value in hearing from the districts and going through each of these one by one, and then we could maybe talk about it all together at that point in time to kind of see how that might be. And then part of the back end of that discussion would be, as Melissa mentioned, as we have some delays and other things like that, as we look to present a proposed budget to you and the budget committee here next month, is after we have that initial discussion of where we think our levels of support are. If the budget doesn't give that, we'll want to have some general direction as to what we do with these requests versus the requests that were presented to you from the staff side for the entire citywide budget, and what those impacts would be too.
Right. Yeah. If you don't mind, Mayor, I agree. I think we hear from the taxing districts individually and then kind of go from there.
Okay, so if it's okay, I'm going to move on and summarize the next request that we have. So the Umatilla County Special Library District submitted a request. Theirs was an annual contribution to fund Library IQ, which is a software collection development program that all libraries that are part of the district would benefit from. I did include their request as well as the cost proposal for that software. Similar to what we just discussed about options of funding for the Mosquito District, really Staff was leaning towards the two options that are outlined in that memo. Of course, the third would be to fund the entire duration of urban renewal, and fourth would be not to fund. So when we looked at these, we looked at option one, which would be to fund the request immediately for years 1 through 10, which would be through the fiscal year 2035, once that revenue sharing has commenced. If we did that option, the benefit would be that the libraries would get the software right away. The software obviously has annual escalation costs, so the financial dollar amount over that period of time would be around $311,000, according to their projections. If we did the inverse and waited until there was a financial impact to the district and funded the back end, so after that 2035, the libraries would have to wait for that and delay that benefit. And the level of funding needed there is just short of $576,000 because the software becomes more expensive over time. Obviously, if we were to fund the entire duration of that, we'd be looking at closer to $900,000. And so I guess I will turn it over to the district representatives, and then we can answer any questions. Do we have a microphone over there still? Thank you.
Thanks. So my name is Nick Nash, and I am the president of the Umatilla County Special Library District. And I heard some, sounds.
Sorry.
Fair, no, I think it's helpful. But I think that the piece that's important to keep track of is that across 20 years, right? So according to the city of Umatilla's numbers, over the 20 years covered by the Urban Rural District, our library district wouldn't receive approximately $2 million in collected taxes. And the reason that this is a problem for us is that we represent 12 member libraries spread across the county. And unfortunately, the urban renewal that's going on in the city of Umatilla would only benefit one of the libraries, the one here in Umatilla, right? And so we came up with a proposal that would impact all of our libraries. And as you just heard, it's about somewhere between $800,000 and $900,000 across the 20 years. And as you also heard, the program's called Library IQ, which helps with collection development. And to us, this seemed like a great way to help all of the libraries. And we put the proposal together in good faith. Just the part we were sort of unclear about and that we're handling today is that we were given the two proposals, which both fund roughly about half of the money, as we just heard. And we're just, kind of confused and a little frustrated by this because, again, we put our proposal together in good faith across all 20 years, all 20 of the years that'll be impacted by the Urban Renewal District. And ultimately, we only end up being awarded about a quarter of that money. So our request this evening is just that you consider funding the full amount across the full 20 years of the Urban Renewal District so that all of our libraries across the county can benefit from the full length of the district. And quite frankly, that's just our proposal is to ask you to fund for the full 20 years. So thank you. And I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. And we have our director here. If I can't answer, she can.
So you said that you lose approximately $2 million over 20 years? Okay.
Yeah. So this is, we're asking for slightly less. Thank you. We're asking for slightly less than half back through our mitigation request.
So Hermiston also has urban renewal areas as well. Have you seen an impact from that that's, equivalent, or is it a different area?
So going to get a little bit complicated here, but the city of Hermiston, strictly speaking, is not a member of our district. So there is one sort of donut hole in our district, which is the city boundaries of the city of Hermiston. So we don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
So there are other urban renewal areas that are part of the special library district. Pendleton has urban renewal. And to my knowledge, they do not provide any related financial assistance to the district. I definitely agree. I think our spirit of collaboration, it was not meant to say that the district is not impacted, but the district will not be impacted for a full 20 years. There's no actual financial impact that occurs until 2035. And that's where staff's recommendation came from. That there's no tax money that's diverted from the district that they would have received until 2035.
Right.
And I would just comment, I mean, this, the 30,000 view is always part of the district.
Yeah, we need to use the microphone, yeah. You're good, thank you.
To that end, it's just really hard to figure out how to benefit all 12 libraries who are very different equally, which this your urban renewal will take, and also just looking at the big picture, that per your numbers over the course of that entire time, $2 million is the bottom line. And so we were looking at how can I benefit all 12 libraries, especially the 11 that aren't going to see any benefit in new roads and new great infrastructure. And I understand your budget, you know, you have to balance your budget this year, which is also why we put in, I mean, for us, it'd be fine if you did it every, you know, just every year, because then it's a lot smaller. 27,000 this year, I think is the number for the first year that we would need. And I would just say for us, we really have to start it now, because in 10 years, library software, I mean, the request could be totally different. You know, who knows what that software will look like. And then in our wording, it says Library IQ or something similar. But it would be, so it's a really expensive software, but it's very robust. Hermiston and Pendleton have purchased it because they're the only libraries that could ever afford it. But it would really help all 12 libraries achieve a goal that they've wanted to since the district was started, which is to collaborate together. Because if you use the libraries, we have one consortium and 77 libraries in it. But they're buying for themselves. And it's just really, it's always like, and they have tiny budgets. So it'd just be a really great tool. And again, it's just always tricky for me to, how do I get grants that somebody's not crabby about and somebody's happy about, you know? And so this is what we came up with. It seemed like big picture, we're losing $2 million. This would ask for less than half of that over the 20 years. And I know each year is, you know, different. Anyway, so that's my 30,000 foot kind of view and reasoning behind it.
And it would, I think, give a really unique way for the city of Umatilla to support the district in this way with the urban renewal. I mean, I think that honestly is kind of cool, right? Through your urban renewal, you're helping support all of the libraries across our district by supporting this software. I don't know. I think that's kind of cool if I was sitting in your seat.
Thank you.
Heather, can I ask a follow-up? You said Pendleton already has this software. Is their cost per year equivalent to what you were proposing?
So no, neither Pendleton or Hermiston pays that much, but I have requested from Library IQ what a consortium. So I would roll Pendleton and Hermiston in there because again, they would not be happy about that. You know, it's my trying to balance everything. So a consortium, if we do all 12, it's cheaper for everyone. That's the consortium, that all 12 libraries together price.
So my follow-up question was going to be, you know, Pendleton has urban renewal and they're not contributing anything. Would Pendleton and Hermiston be willing to chip in and maybe cost share with us on that?
They probably would. And the only comment I would make on that urban renewal is it started over 20 years ago. I wasn't around or I would have said something. And also it is much, much smaller. It's not nearly the impact. I did look at that to see, and it's costing the district over 20 years, it's cost us less than $500,000 from our district. Also, it was way before my time, so I had no say, but that's where we're at. So it's just a much, much smaller impact, at least, that we are still taking that hit from.
So would the inverse of that be true as well? I mean, that's what I'm trying to mention is that the district is getting more when revenue sharing begins. It's just less of more. So because the city of Umatilla has done well in economic development and brought in data centers and brought in other economic development, the property tax that's coming from the city of Umatilla that spreads through all the 12 cities is benefiting from our economic development because of that. And so you're getting a significantly higher proportion of funds to the library district coming from our city than the other cities because of the economic development. So it is true that it's diverting some of those funds. It's also doing it to the city of Umatilla. We put that in your memo as well. There's general fund dollars that are solely discretionary funds that will have to go to the urban renewal district specifically for the plan to implement the plan of the urban renewal district. So I understand. So as much as I very much agree that there is the reduction of those funds, but it's a reduction of more. Said another way, had the city not been successful in economic development, there'd be no additional funds at all. So I just wanted to be clear on that.
Sure, but I would also counter that you're not the only one that's done that. I mean, through those years, those last few years, when some of your data centers have come on the rolls, there's been windmill farms across the county. When some of the first windmill farms went in, they were all in Helix, and Helix wanted to keep all the money. And that's just not how our district works. It's a little bit different than, some other things. And that's what our job is to think about all 12 together, and to look at what's best for all of them. Because there's in the last 5 years, there's been 3 windmill farms that have also come on the tax rolls and also bumped up those revenues that start coming in. So, and there's more to come on windmills in other areas of the county those farms will come off their SIPs. They're not enterprise zones, they're SIPs. Just different, different tax codes, but they also come off theirs and come onto the rolls and also increase revenue in other areas, not just Umatilla. So. Hayden, you look like you have a question.
I always have a question. I just got to make sure it's the right time. So my question is if the city of Umatilla says we're going to hold back this approximately $2 million is what you're saying we're going to take from the library district, is there anything preventing the library district from walking away from Umatilla and saying you guys are on your own for 20 years?
Well, first of all, we would never do that.
We would never do that.
I mean, because
it's not our philosophy.
And also the fact of the matter is that, you could form the urban renewal district, right? And you could not give us any mitigation. That's one of the decisions you're making right now. You could do that. And that's well within your power as the city council, right? Look, we hope you don't. In fact, what we're asking for you to do is to fund us for the full 20 years, right? But you could do that. And honestly, regardless of what decision you make, we're going to continue doing our jobs as the elected officials supporting 12 libraries across the county, right? 11 member libraries and 1 partner library in the city of Hermiston, which allows us to have a library in every single incorporated city in the county, right? And, we're going to do that regardless of what decision you make. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is from each of the cities that fund your budget, isn't more than 50% of your budget comes from the city of Umatilla, since, as you mentioned, Hermiston's not part of your district?
I don't know the details of that.
We did ask Rachel Reynolds, the county assessor, and she did not indicate that was true.
Okay. Any other questions?
Any further questions from council for the library district as it currently stands? Thank you very much for the presentation. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa, who do we have next?
Umatilla School District. So in our discussions with the school district, they did acknowledge that there's not a significant financial impact specifically related to the creation of the urban renewal due to the way that the state school funding formula is currently set up. If you remember our outreach summary, one of the concerns that was raised that didn't really relate, but was a cost to the school this year in particular, was added busing expenditures, particularly due to the delay in the power line and Madison Street improvement project. And so that cost was kind of undetermined, but now we received the request. This year, those busing expenditures are about $200,000. The request that came in from Heidi did talk about busing in future years related to sidewalks along power line, which was a little bit outside of our original scope from when Zach and I sat down and met with her. I did put in the memo that after kind of seeing that expanded ask, we did pull the school's traffic impact analysis, the TIA, and did not identify additional sidewalks along power line that were tied to the development of that school. Not to say that sidewalks along power line should not exist, But it does look like with the completion of Powerline in Madison, the city has completed the scope of work that was tied to Columbia Vista. In the correspondence, Heidi also indicated that some of the busing is eligible for reimbursement in future years, not necessarily this year, but she could get reimbursement up to $140,000 next year. So taking all of that in total and what we're looking at in budget, our recommendation was to approve the $200,000 this year and not ask for any of it back, even though she can get reimbursed for it in future years. Effectively, that would allow them to take that reimbursement next year and kind of help with those other busing needs for the future years as we work to complete the next phase of the Powerline and Madison roundabout. I think I'll let Heidi talk to it. There were some other comments submitted in relation to urban renewal, just about the importance, and timing of our Powerline and Madison project. So we will address those throughout the urban renewal process because those are plans that are identified in the plan. But tonight, just looking at funding, that was the recommendation. So Heidi.
You summarized that well. Thank you, Melissa. And also thank you for going back and forth with a bunch of questions and helping each of us understand each other on this. I appreciate it. So the key to remember for the 70% is the only reason that we would be eligible for that moving forward is that we appealed to the state board and we requested that we be allowed to bus from the end of Powerline all the way up and the top down to prevent students from walking along Powerline Road until sidewalks are done. So the positive piece about the reimbursement level is that that amount should go down as more and more sidewalks are developed. Our waiver request from the State Board of Education says until those sidewalks are in. And so it will slowly shrink over time as the sidewalks are built. So this really just feels like a great way to partner on a community problem right now. That's just a result of the growth. And I appreciate the opportunity to be partners on this and keep kids safe.
Perfect. Okay. Any questions from council?
I like that. Keep fixing.
Keep kids safe. Okay.
Thank you, Heidi.
Okay. Any questions from council? Getting lots of no's. Okay. Melissa, who's next?
Last but not least, Umatilla Rural Fire is here tonight. So it was very clear to us as we met with the districts that when we talk about not all districts are impacted equally and not all districts are experiencing the same level of financial stability right now. So through the urban renewal outreach summary, I did highlight that. The funding request that we received from the fire district was 4 main bullet points. The first one was $500,000 annually to help fund additional firefighters and operational expenses. The second one was $2.2 million for a ladder truck. 3 is support in future investment in station upgrades, which really, we will probably talk about more in relation to how we can help support utility upgrades throughout urban renewal eligible projects. And then the fourth is an idea that we worked together to talk about what would an administrative services partnership look like to help the fire district with duties such as financial administration, audit or budget coordination, human resources support, and then, preparation and assistance with meeting management. And so when we met with the fire district originally and talked about the ladder truck, we did think we would be getting the sizable one-time contribution from the data centers that we are not receiving. So just as we looked at a recommendation, I don't think it's financially feasible for the city to support that now. What we ended up recommending would be to proceed with the contracted administrative services partnership. I know that Chief Baker has presented that high-level concept to his board as well. Looking at the type of duties that they were looking for help with, I took an average all-in hourly wage for a couple of our different employees that would help with that. At about 20 hours a week, that would be a benefit to the fire district of about $86,000 a year in staff support at our cost. The second The second thing is, we think the fire district could be really successful in getting outside grant funding. And we have some really excellent consultants on our team. And so we would like to offer them our grant writing consultants at no cost at the city's expense. And then where the big dollar amounts came through, like an annual contribution, grants take time to secure. And so our recommendation was to provide for fiscal year 27 and 28 to provide an annual contribution of 250,000 in each of those years to the district, kind of no strings attached. But then in future years, fiscal year 2029 through the completion of the urban renewal area, to provide up to $265,000 a year to kind of account for inflation, but really to do it as a one-to-one match for any grant or operating levy that they were able to secure. So if they were to go out to the voters and get an operating levy, we would match that up to 265,000. If they were to get some combination of multiple grants or a lower levy and a grant, no matter what, the cap would be that 265. And so I will let Chief speak to kind of our recommendation and discussions so far.
Good evening, almost midnight, I think. Mayor and council, thanks for having us here tonight. For the record, my name is Chris Baker. I'm the fire chief for Umatilla Rural Fire Protection District. First, I want to sincerely thank you for your partnership and willingness to have this conversation. I think this is a huge step in the right direction as a city. And as you can hear, other cities and jurisdictions have not had these conversations when they talked about urban renewal. We understand the importance of economic development and the role urban renewal plays in a growing community. But I also want to speak candidly about the reality of fire and emergency services in the district. Every day, our firefighters respond to emergencies where lives are on the line. Structure fires, medical emergencies, rescues, you name it, we go to them. We are expected to perform at a high level, and we do. But the reality is we are doing it with very, very limited staffing. We have 2 career firefighters on every single day. That is below the national standard of 4. So a jurisdiction like us, any fire engine that drives down the road, the national standard is 4 people on that engine. Over the past 5 years, this district has seen approximately 85% increase in call volume. Last year, 1,100 emergency incidents. That's more than 1 a day. Yet, we're still operating with a very similar budget as we did 5 years ago. The demand for service has grown dramatically, but the resources to support that demand have not kept pace. When looking at overall public safety funding, it can be helpful to compare how different services are resourced. Not to draw criticism, but to provide context, fire and law enforcement both play a critical role in protecting the community, and both face increasing demands. While fire departments may have fewer personnel, we carry significant capital costs. Fire engines, a ladder truck, $2.2 million. Fire engine, $1.3. Specialized equipment, our personal protective equipment, just that structure gear that you see us wearing, $5,500. That air pack that we put on our back, $12,500. Not to mention the costs that are incurred every single year to test that equipment, because we are mandated by NFPA to test that equipment and also by OSHA. We are also facing ongoing overtime demands to maintain minimum staffing and rising maintenance costs on critical response vehicles. These are important factors when considering how fire service budgets are structured relative to the level of service expected. And to be clear, this is not a city issue. This is a fire district issue. It's our system and it's how it's structured. However, partnerships like the one we are discussing tonight are exactly how we begin to close the gap. Over the past year, we have made major progress. We have stabilized operations, improved financial accountability, worked through compliance issues, and started replacing unreliable equipment. We are moving this department forward in a very real way, but we are not there yet. But we are not where we need to be yet. As this community continues to grow with larger buildings, more residents, and increased demand, the expectations for fire service grows with it. Our citizens and visitors expect and deserve a level of fire and emergency service that matches that growth. Through continued partnership and collaboration and strategic investment, I truly believe we can get there together. We can build a system that is safer, more reliable, sustainable for the long term. We are committed to being responsible stewards of any support we receive and to continue to move this organization forward in a way this community can be proud of. I'd just like to mention, in our jurisdiction, we have our data centers. Our data centers require a ladder truck. But I think what's more important is our apartment complexes. Any building that's over 3 stories tall, we cannot reach the roof. We cannot reach the windows to those 3-story apartment complexes, let alone the 4-story apartment complex that we have in the McNary area. A ladder truck is a real thing. We need it. Unfortunately, we had to get rid of our previous ladder truck. It was 45 years old and it had reached its end of life. I would definitely like you all to consider the ladder truck. I think it's a great investment. It's something that we can purchase and do an annual payment over a long period of time, but it's something that's absolutely needed in our district. The staffing is absolutely needed. Yeah, thank you for your time and considerations, and I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Any comments from council? Chief, I got a couple for you. So in this staff memo here, they talk about levies and other opportunities. I know the difficulty of getting a bond or a levy passed. Have you guys explored that as a district, and how have those conversations gone? And is that something that is on the horizon by 2029, or is that something that's fresh?
We are currently trying to figure out our budget forecasting to determine what amount we need to ask for.
Okay.
We need to be able to be transparent to the public, and we need to be able to tell them, here's where our budget gap is, and here's how we need to take care of it. I just can't throw a dart at a board and say, oh, we need to ask for a 50-cent levy.
Exactly.
We need to be exact on it. We need to be precise because you all deserve that.
Right.
We are looking into that. It's something that we're going to be discussing as a board in the next couple of months. But we really need to see what our financial forecast is so we can determine what's needed.
Mr. Smith, do you have a comment? Yeah, it does. Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was wondering, I heard 15, 20 years ago that there could be some kind of consolidation of the fire services for Hermiston, Sandfield, Umatilla. Is that something that's still ongoing? That's something Pat Hart talked to me about.
That is a great question. Here in Umatilla County, we have an initiative. It's called Stronger Together, and we're in the beginning phases of doing research regarding that. We just signed an MOU along with the other fire districts in the county that essentially allow the emergency management of the county to pursue grants for feasibility study. That feasibility study would outline if it's even feasible. I'll just give an example. If we were to consolidate, let's just give an example with UCFD1. We're at 85 cents a thousand for our levy. They're at $1.79. And then they have operations levies on top of that, and they're going after another operations levy. Why do we live here in Umatilla? Because the taxes are pretty low compared to our neighbors. That tax would go up through the roof. So we need to be realistic with any operations levy in the future. That's why we need to make sure that our forecasting is on point and we know exactly what we need. Coming from previous jurisdictions, I've had joint powers agreements with other districts, and we're kind of going that direction now. We're utilizing each other more and more every day. We're training together, and I think that's a step in the right direction. So I guess an answer to that, not any time in the next 5 years. It's going to take a long time. There's a lot of moving parts there.
One other question. Without having a ladder truck, doesn't that put our insurance rates in jeopardy.
It absolutely does. If we were to add a ladder truck, it actually drops our insurance service rating down. And that goes on to the citizens who pay their property insurance.
Okay, any further questions from council? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is that everyone?
Yes, you've heard all of the requests now, and so I would ask if council has any other follow-up questions about any of the proposals, or I would just encourage open discussion about, where is the council at with supporting either staff's recommendations or a modified version as we move into budget.
I personally like staff's recommendation for the mosquito district. I have no issues with that. I feel like that's a low enough number that has pretty low impact on us. And if they're not asking for too much and we're not stepping on their toes too badly, I'm okay with that. I'm greatly concerned with the impact that we are going to have on our fire district and our library district. Hearing $2 million being taken away from the library district is a concern for the entire community and not just our own. And I think this has an impact that is broader than I personally anticipated. But I think that is not an insignificant number. And my concern is that if planning and projections were to continue, especially with inflation the way it is, like it's going to cost more to run the consortium. And my concern is that we are going to negatively impact the district moving forward in a way that is unsustainable. And second that to the fire district. If we're taking the tax dollars away from them, we're robbing Peter to pay ourselves. To ensure that we are meeting the commitments that we told Amazon that we would do without the foresight to actually do it.
So none of the urban renewal projects in our plans are Amazon related, to
No.
be clear.
I should say growth related.
Yeah, the funding is coming from the Amazon data center, but we're not funding any Amazon related capital improvement projects.
No. Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
First of all, I want to thank the taxing districts for coming out. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we actually had conversations. This is great. We're moving in the right direction. Yeah, I have to agree with the mayor. I think it's not unreasonable, the 200,000 for the school district. I think that's reasonable. I think the extra staff for the fire is definitely essential. I would love for us to be able to pull a $2 million proverbial hat trick. That'd be great. And same as the library district. And as we look forward, I think we can probably take bites out of the apple and get there when we need to be. Because I'm more optimistic than I am pessimistic in the fact that I think we're only going to grow, and I look for the glass to be half full, because economics are it's all cyclical, and I think we'll be in a position in 5 years it's going to be different than it is today, good, bad, or indifferent. So I personally believe that as we move forward, we really focus in on the fire district. As we all know, that's really important to us, and the school district is too. Not that the other districts are not. I'm not saying that, but as the pointed case in front of us, I think we figure out ways to mitigate the other ones and work with the school district and the fire district. Fire district it needs lots of help, and we know that, and we see that. I don't think there's a nay up here that would go against that for sure. And if we can figure out a way to supplement that and work with that, that would be great. Granted, we're here to have discussions, so it's not about us making a decision or giving you direction or whatever. That's just my personal opinion.
Formal direction, no, but a little guidance would be helpful. Either go with your recommendation, we hear the library and want you to do it for 20 years. It's one thing to balance our budget this year. The amount for the library really doesn't change from year to year, but
Sure.
you know, the follow-up from the budget meetings is after we have a balanced budget, we will need to work to get some sort of MOU or IGA in place with these taxing districts that memorializes a commitment. So as far as, you know, the mosquito district and the library district, none of these in any single given year are a large dollar amount. But I think I would like some sort of council guidance, or we can bring it back for a formal decision on, you know, what duration of commitment does council want to support?
If I could maybe recommend that way we can kind of digest this as we go through. I do like the staff recommendations, everyone. And I do want to, as I thanked them, I definitely want to thank you guys for, I know this has been daunting. So I appreciate you putting this together.
Melissa, what's our time? Sorry, Darren, go ahead. Sorry.
Let's go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. No, I have.
No, you're
stepped
good.
on your toe.
You're good.
Melissa, what's our timeline to get this turned around and deliver? Do we have a timeline for the urban renewal?
So this is separate from urban renewal. To be
Yeah.
clear, all of these funding requests will be paid for using general fund discretionary dollars, mainly from enterprise zone payment in lieu of tax to the city. We cannot use urban renewal funds to mitigate the impact of urban renewal. Those have to be used on very specific eligible projects. So our timeline here doesn't follow urban renewal.
Okay.
The reason that we're here now before urban renewal is because we are budgeting, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, our budget reflects an accurate level of support.
So
and
what's our timeline for budget?
now,
Yeah.
now.
So I was gonna say, like, I was like,
We-
I feel like we had to decide this today.
Yeah. We have a budget meeting in a month, and I have to have a proposed balanced budget to you ahead of that. So now, if what I'm hearing is the annual amounts that are in here in general, you guys support, then for this year, we can put that in there. But the districts, I'm sure, want that follow-up on what does that commitment look like? One of the options for the library district, not the one that we recommended, was wait till 2035. When I asked, Heather I don't think she'll say I'm wrong. When I asked if one of these options, what do you prefer? And she said the earlier. Of course, you heard they'd prefer the whole thing. So we could move forward with funding year one and come back for an ultimate decision if you guys would like more time to think about the entirety of the commitment.
So, me personally asking, is this reasonable to you sitting in a chair of a finance person?
I think that we can make this work. My recommendation was if we have enough in our current fiscal year budget, I would recommend that we, through our June supplemental budget, address the school district funding issue since that happened in the current fiscal year and not carry that over into next fiscal year's budget.
Okay.
Because I do think we'll be able to handle that. The mosquito, like I said, the mosquito in the library district, $30,000 is doable. I think we can get to the 250 for fire. You know, if we really struggle, then we're going to sit down and at the budget meeting, I'll try to balance it. And if we can't, I'll still balance it and say, this is what I cut. And then you guys can have some more discussion about, is cutting this city service or this city request what we want to do to fund fire. There may be some more difficult, or, we're really, really close to we fund them at 225, or hey, maybe we have a little extra. Let's do this.
Okay. Yeah, I think
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I think the staff recommendations, I mean, across the board were honestly where I think where we should be. I just want to look. Heather, are you okay with the staff recommendation for library district?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm good. On board.
So my follow-up for council is we will wait till after budget, but are you comfortable with me bringing probably at least the mosquito and the library district back? The school districts was a one-time payment and we kind of have a set annual on fire, but for the two others, I think we need to bring those back for a formal decision on how long of a commitment council is willing to make.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds good.
On the record, I do not like mosquitoes.
As hell, like the library. Good book. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like fire. I don't like fires either.
Yeah, I don't like fires either,
Like
so.
fires in my house.
Even though I didn't like school, I like school.
Okay,
So
Bruce, go ahead.
just,
Sorry.
so the details you just ran through, it looked like there was consensus opinion up here of that's how we'd like to go, and, you know, bringing things back that you need to for further discussion sound great. I just wanted to make a comment. You know, sadly, this is general fund money. It's not bottomless. You know, people are gonna, nobody up here is saying anything we heard tonight, which was wonderful that everybody was here. It was great to hear, but there's not enough money to do everything. And hopefully people can understand that and, you know, work together like we're getting started working together. You know, we all go further down the road or none of us gets down the road. You know, I mean, Darren said it, you know, wish I could write a check for 2 million. You know, probably not going to happen, but you know, we're going to do the best we can. And, you know, if everybody understands, you know, money's just not, you know, an unlimited thing. That's what we've got to deal with.
Yep. Okay. Any further discussions from council?
Nope.
Okay, I'm seeing onset. No. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the mayor's message. Real quick, can I just agree with all the council members real quick for council information? We got to go fast.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, we got to go real quick. We don't have a ton of time. All right. I just want to say thank you for all the districts for coming out tonight and saying their information so we can help try to, you know, help each other out so we can continue to move forward. I like how Bruce said it there. I want to say thank you to Mr. Jared Tesh for coming this evening and giving his perspective on the sound mitigation stuff. And I just want to say thank you to staff for being out tonight and congratulations to Old Nick's. It's not the right name, but for getting the grant. I'm excited for them and I'm looking forward to seeing a new sign. And Scott, it's always good to see your face. All right, moving on. Ms. Funderburk, go ahead.
Thank you everyone for coming. And what you said was all great too. What you said, I agree.
Perfect.
Trying to make it fast.
Mr. DeFlop.
Thanks for all the city does for us.
Yes.
Yes.
All the above.
All the
I'll
above.
keep it short and sweet. Yes. Thank you.
Ms. McMillan.
Thank you for all the districts for coming and speaking, you know, fighting for what you want. And then Crystal, thank you for coming and speaking the positives and the good about our community. I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it when people come and they tell us about the issues and they actually vocalize it and make us aware, but it's really nice and refreshing to hear the good coming out. So we appreciate that.
Mr. Smith.
I had something extensive that I wanted to put in the record, but it can wait until next meeting.
You sure? I can do it written. Do you want to give it written and we can submit it? Okay.
Exec session should take like maybe 10 minutes. So you're doing a little bit.
Go ahead.
okay.
You can go fast.
Okay. A remembrance of Mayor Mary Dietrich. Mary came to Umatilla in 1978, started the school district in 1981. She was volunteer coordinator and homeless advocate. Her city volunteer positions included city council for about 13 years in multiple terms, planning commission, Umatilla mayor, president of Umatilla Chamber of Commerce, president of Umatilla Lions Club, volunteer at Agape House, active at First Christian Church in Hermiston, doing all this and more while having a husband and a daughter who were disabled that she cared for. Some of her passions were homelessness and affordable housing, reviving the Old Town site, opening the Lewis and Clark Trail through our city, talking with people. Mary loved to talk. She resigned from city council due to rancor between the city manager and the mayor and city council. Mary said she was resigning due to all of the self-interest and said it is not about what they want, it's what's best for the whole community. I believe the present city council understands that. It is not about what we want, but it has to be about what is best for all of our citizens that we serve. Mary did many things, most of them unnoticed, to make Umatilla what it is today. A wonderful place to live and to raise a family. I remember many times running into Mary in a store and having it turn into a 30-minute conversation about what Umatilla needs, and she loved to talk to people. That was one of her great attributes. She loved her adopted hometown of Umatilla. She did all the things she did not to make herself look good, but to serve her friends, and all the citizens were her friends. Oops. I'm Mike again. Unfortunately, Mary passed away earlier this year due to complications after a failed surgery and secondary sepsis. It is a blessing that she did not linger. Mary, you are already missed. My friend, I want to congratulate you on a life well lived. Hopefully we will all learn from your example. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Now provide that to me.
Mr.
Incredibly well said, Lyle. Incredibly well said. And thank you for saying it. I really appreciate it because she was my neighbor and I miss that old gal. So I was going to say something else that might not be appropriate. Yeah.
Mr. McLean.
You love to talk.
I also hate mosquitoes.
Right.
Your turn.
Love libraries.
Love libraries, by the way.
What didn't she like? Yeah.
Oh, no,
I
I'm
mean,
just
Civic,
saying-
well, you,
yeah.
yeah, I know you don't like mosquitoes.
I don't like mosquitoes.
Yeah.
But I love libraries.
Yeah. Thank everybody for being here. Thank the districts for being here in particular. Staff as usual, wonderful reports. Looking forward to spring events. Everybody be careful out there. Kids will be kids and will be out in the roads. And if you haven't taken a drive by across the street, the mural for just having been started is looking pretty cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
Well, and on that note, we're looking for a motion to go into executive session at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to leave our regular session and enter into executive session.
Thank you very much for that
second
motion.
that.
Motion the first and seconded. Mr. McMillan, then Mr. Smith seconded. Roll call, please.
Counselor Funderburg.
Aye.
Counselor Duffloff.
Aye.
Counselor Katie McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor Smith.
Aye.
Counselor Dennis McMillan.
Aye.
Counselor McLean.
Aye.
Council now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 1926602H to consult with your attorney regarding the legal rights and duties regarding current litigation or litigations that are more likely not to be filed. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Representatives of the news media and the city manager, department directors, and the city attorney shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All of the members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on anything otherwise disclosed or any deliberations or anything else said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general topic of the session previously announced. No decision will be made during the executive session. At the end